I'm a police officer in New Jersey. I've been doing this since I was 21. I've done this job long enough to know that most nights aren't as exciting as people imagine. Disturbance calls, shoplifting, noise complaints, routine cases that you file and move on from. But night shifts, they have their own rhythm. It's not about how busy they are. It's about how quiet they get. Hours of empty roads, no radio chatter, just me and the steady hum of my patrol car, rolling through downs that seem to fall asleep and never wake up. That's when the strange calls slip through. I was working a late shift that night.
I hadn't gotten a single call for hours. It was one of those long stretches where I found myself cruising just to fill the silence, driving down back roads I'd patrolled 1,000 times. No streetlights, woods pressing in on both sides. The stillness so thick, I caught myself straining to hear anything, just to remind myself I wasn't the only thing moving out there. Then I saw it, a faint glint of red up ahead. At first it was barely noticeable, just a flicker of reflection off the grass on the right side of the road. I slowed down, angled my cruiser toward it. As I got closer, the shape came into view. A vehicle, parked half off the shoulder. Driver's side door swung wide open, like someone had left in a hurry. Standard protocol kicked in. An abandoned car with an open door is never a good sign. Could be a breakdown, could be something worse. I eased my cruiser onto the grass, cutting the engine as I rolled up behind the car. My headlights caught a figure stepping out from behind the vehicle. They stood there for a few seconds, just standing, before bolting into the woods. I didn't hesitate. I radioed in the code for a suspicious vehicle and person on foot. Then I got out, flashlight in hand, my other hand resting on my holster. You don't approach these situations lightly. I've learned to expect the worst and work backward from there. I approached the car slowly, keeping my flashlight moving. From the outside, it looked empty. But as I reached the driver's side door, a wave of rot hit me. Sharp, aggressive, like something had been left inside far too long. It wasn't just a bad smell. It was wrong. It clung to my skin, made my stomach tighten. I leaned in, half expecting to find someone slumped over, but the seats were empty. Nothing but a few crumpled tissues on the passenger floor. Then I noticed the stains. The tissues weren't casually dropped. They were soaked. Dark red stains, heavy, sticking to the floor mat. The more I looked, the more I found. Paper towels wadded up, stuffed between the seats, tossed onto the back bench, each one saturated in blood. I stepped back and called out toward the woods. "Police! Anyone out there need assistance?" I swept my flashlight through the trees. The beam barely cut through the darkness. No movement, no sound. I took a few steps into the tree line, scanning left and right, still nothing. Then, footsteps. To my left. Soft, deliberate, but close enough that I could hear the crunch of leaves underfoot. "Show yourself," I called. "Are you hurt?" No response. Then a voice answered. Low, deep, too calm. It said something I couldn't understand, like a word that didn't belong there. But it didn't sound like someone in distress. There was no urgency, no panic. It was just there. I kept my hand near my holster and moved toward where the sound came from, repeating the same question. "Do you need assistance?" Silence. Something wasn't right. If this had been a hit and run, why flee into the woods? And if they were hurt, why stay hidden? I backed away from the tree line and returned to the car to investigate further. My heart was racing, but my training kept me focused. I circled to the rear passenger side, shining my flashlight into the back seat. That's when I saw it. On the floor was a bundle, heavy, misshapen, wrapped in blood-soaked paper towels. At first, it looked like trash, a pile of wadded-up tissues from some messy accident, but the shape was off. I leaned in, slipped on my gloves, and carefully unwrapped the bundle. It took me a second to process what I was seeing. It was a hand. A severed human hand, wrist jagged, fingers stiff, the skin darkened and shriveled from the blood that had dried and soaked through everything. For a moment, I just stared at it. It didn't register immediately. The sheer saturation of blood masked its human features, but when it clicked, the situation escalated from a suspicious vehicle to a potential murder scene. I radioed for immediate backup. This wasn't a search anymore. This was a crime scene. I turned on my cruiser's emergency lights, needing other units to find me fast. When backup arrived, we launched a full sweep of the area. Searchlights, thermal imaging, canine units, we threw everything at it. We combed the woods, expecting to find some kind of trail, maybe a blood path leading away from the car. But we found nothing. No blood trail, no footprints leading deeper into the woods, not even a drag mark on the grass. It didn't make sense. That severed hand should have led us somewhere, but it was as if it had appeared out of nowhere. We processed the car. Every inch was examined. Turns out the plates were missing, either stolen or intentionally scrubbed. A report came in later confirming the vehicle had been stolen from a nearby town earlier that week. We lifted fingerprints from the steering wheel, took DNA samples from the tissues and the severed hand. But when the results came back, no matches. Nothing in the database, no linked criminal records, no missing person reports, no identifiable prints. It was like that hand and whoever ran into the woods didn't exist. To this day, the case remains unsolved. The car sat in impound for months, untouched. The hand, bagged, logged, filed away under a cold case number. But every time I patrol that stretch of road, I remember that voice in the woods. It wasn't a voice asking for help. It was a voice waiting to see if I would come looking.
If you were on that car with me, would you have chased into the woods alone or waited for backup? Let me know in the comments what you would have done. And if you ever come across something that didn't add up, I want to hear your story. Tap the like button if you felt the tension in that search. And make sure you're subscribed because I've got more real incident files that never made it into the official reports. Cases that don't close themselves. This job teaches you one thing real quick. Not everything wants to be found.